Good morning, learners. Today we'll be looking at the topic, the human digestive system. Now, have you ever wondered how we are able to utilize the food we eat to produce energy? How do the cells in our bodies get the required nutrients? How are the nutrients broken down and absorbed in the body? Do our bodies use all the food consumed or parts of it? If not, what happens to the rest? Now, this lesson will endeavor to answer these questions and more as we explore the human digestive system. So come along. Now, what happens to food when it enters the body? Now, the food that we eat undergoes various processes as it enters the body. Now, the first process is ingestion. What does that mean? Ingestion simply means the taking in of food. After the food is taken in, it is digested. Now, what is digestion? Digestion is the breaking down of complex food substances into simple absorbable forms. Now, when the food is digested, it is absorbed through the small intestine into the bloodstream, where it goes to the various parts of the cell that uses it. Now, the undigested part of the food that we take in is passed out through the anus, and that process is called digestion. Now, moving ahead, we'll look at digestion proper. Now, what is digestion itself? The process of digestion is the breakdown, either physical and chemical, of complex food substances into simple absorbable forms. Now, the complex food substances needed to be broken are large nutrients which cannot be absorbed directly. These are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The process of digestion takes place in the digestive tract. It is both a physical and a chemical. Now, the digestive tract, also known as the alimentary canal, is the passageway for the entrance, breakdown, and passing out of food substance. As you can see in the picture, it comprises of the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, large intestine, and the anus. As you can see in the picture right there, you can see the picture right there that shows all these parts of the digestive tract. Now, this is the digestive system overview. Now, it shows us the various parts of the digestive system and all the organs and glands involved in it. We have the mouth, the salivary glands, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, small intestine, large intestine, and anus. They all play a very essential role in the digestive process. Now, let's go into the various parts of the body and what happens there in detail. Now, we're going to start with the mouth. Now, what happens in the mouth when food enters into it? Now, when you eat or when food enters into the mouth, your teeth chews the food and it is mixed up with the saliva produced by the salivary gland, mixing it up to form what we call the bolus. Now, digestion begins in the mouth. It begins in the mouth, and that is why carbohydrate digestion, it starts in the mouth. Yes, starch is broken down by the enzyme that is found in the saliva called taurine, which helps to start the digestion process in carbohydrates. So once the food is digested, it is now swallowed. Now, moving on to the esophagus. Now, the esophagus itself is a pipe-like structure through which food is transferred from the mouth to the stomach. As you can see in the picture right there, the esophagus has a muscle lining in which, when food is being swallowed, it contracts and relaxes as the food moves down through the esophagus. Now, the contraction and relaxation movement even of the esophagus as food passes down through it is called peristalsis. As you can see in the picture, that the bolus of the food, as it moves down the esophagus, the muscles of the esophagus contract and relaxes, causing a peristaltic movement as the food passes from the mouth to the stomach. Now, moving on to the stomach. Now, what happens when food enters into the stomach? Now, the food is churned. Because the stomach is made up of a muscular lining, which allows a contraction and relaxation movement, causing the food to be churned in the stomach. And not only that, the lining of the stomach also contains, yes, the part that produces gastric juice. Now this gastric juice is made up of hydrochloric acid and the enzyme pepsin, which aids in the chemical digestion of proteins. Now I must say that protein digestion begins in the stomach. Now what does the hydrochloric acid do? Now the hydrochloric acid helps to, kill the bacteria that may be present in the food, while the enzyme pepsin helps in the breakdown of protein into peptides. So you see, in the stomach, protein digestion starts, and the mechanical digestion and chemical digestion of protein starts in the stomach. Now I'm going to move on to which is the small intestine. Now, as you can see, the small intestine is a long tube which is small in diameter that functions in the chemical digestion and absorption of of nutrients. Now, one thing that you must realize is that the pancreas, which is a gland which is also involved in the digestion process, produces pancreatic juice, which contains enzymes, lipase, proteinases, and carbohydrates that help to digest fat and oil, protein, and carbohydrates in the duodenum. The duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. Now, in the small intestine, digestion is completed, and the end products of digestion, which are glucose for carbohydrates, amino acid for protein, fatty acids, and glycerol for fats. These absorbable forms, or the end products of digestion, are absorbed into the bloodstream in the ileum through the villi. The villi is like a finger-like projections in the small intestine. So this is what happens in the small intestine. Moving on, we are looking at the large intestine. Now, one thing you must realize about the large intestine is that the large intestine is also, as you can see in the picture in front of you, is made up of various parts, you see. And this is what happens in the large intestine. Water is absorbed, and the undigested food is passed through the intestine to the anus, where it is ingested. Now, moving along, what happens to excess food? Now, you remember the question that I asked in the beginning of this lesson, that is it all the food that we taking into the body that is used up by the body? Of course not. Now, the excess glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids will have to go somewhere. In the case of glucose, the excess glucose is stored as glycogen in the liver and in the muscle. So whenever the body lacks glucose, the stored glucose can be easily converted back from glycogen into glucose, where it is used up in the cells of the body. Now, the amino acids is not stored anywhere. It is converted to urea, and it is eliminated through the urine by the kidneys. Now, the excess fatty acids and glycerol are stored as fats under the skin, the thigh, and the abdomen and the buttocks. So that's what happens to excess food. Now, enzymes in digestion. Now, you remember that I told you from the beginning that the digestive process is also a chemical process. Apart from it being a physical process, it's also a chemical process. Now, enzymes are the chemicals that are involved in the chemical digestion of food. What are enzymes then? Enzymes are biological catalysts that help to speed up biological reactions in the body. Now, in this case, we have various digestive enzymes that help in the breakdown of food. Now, as you can see from the table in front of you, you see that there are enzymes produced in the mouth, stomach, small intestine, in this case pancreas, and in the small intestine itself. Now, these enzymes help to break down food in the various parts of the body, as you see in the picture in front of you. Now, the enzyme taurine is produced in the mouth, which helps in the breakdown of starch into disaccharides. Pepsin is found in the stomach, which helps to break down proteins into smaller peptides. Now, the pancreas produces enzymes that are secreted in the small intestine that helps to break down fats, protein and also carbohydrates. Now we also have the enzyme multi-sucrase and lactase. So that is that about enzyme digestion. Now, as a summary, food enters into the body through the mouth. It undergoes 4 processes such as ingestion, digestion, absorption, and egestion. Complex food substances are broken down to absorbable forms through the process of digestion. Digestion occurs in the digestive tract or alimentary canal, comprising of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and anus. Excess food are stored and excreted from the body. Digestive enzymes are biological catalysts that aid in the digestive process. I want you to pause this video. I want to answer this question by yourself, and I want you to see whether you've actually understood the lesson properly. So pause the video and answer the question, and I will see you again in the next lesson. Bye bye.